what is it like to play a dead FPS game where you have the ability to see from inside another player's eyes? Like, literally.
I don't think so.
Huh?
Welcome, and today we'll explore 4 dead FPS shooter games from the World War theme where enemies are actually sad after they are dead.
You should be suspended immediately.
The game was released in mid of 2021, developed by MS Games, and now Land of War: The Beginning is a story of early 1939, or we can say the pre-World War II era. As I start the game, there was a cutscene. Personally, I'm not into cutscenes as I prefer the gameplay and understanding the story from there, so I skipped. The in-game cutscenes were unskippable, but the first negative I saw in the game was the game is way too laggy. I mean, my RTX graphics card was pushing and pushing, but these lag spikes are giving me a bit headache. Overall, look-wise, the game is beautiful. Environment, characters were decent looking, so that may not be the condition of why this game is dead. The game had stutters all around the cutscene, and I was desperately thinking of clicking the Alt F4, but I set myself to be a bit patient. With the end of the cutscene, we reached the battlefield, and it looked gorgeous. The sky, the lightning, everything was on point. In the battlefield, I was received by Lieutenant John Bratta, and after his dialogue got over, he actually got froze.
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
Then my FPS gamer instincts asked me to do what it always has to do, but it seems like all these characters are immortal. Bullets doesn't affect them at all. The first job I got from Colonel Bratta is to unload some loads, and suddenly there was an attack. Honestly, I got a bit of a jump scare over here. The physics, the mechanics during the attack in the game were decent. After playing so many FPS games my entire life, I would rate the physics 7 out of 10. Firstly, I got in the position where the enemies were coming towards us. Second negative I got is that the enemies feel as if they are immortal. They don't need any cover and just came in front and crouched into position and started aiming. I really didn't expect the game to be this hard as I was losing life very fast. So I used up all my medkits that I got. The game was stuttering a lot and there was too many lag spikes which made it difficult for me to aim properly. Using the anti-tank gun was fun. It actually felt a good recoil and reloading movement of the weapon was amazing. I was still trying to find out that what reason this game is dead. As of now, playing the game, other than the stuttering and the lags, I don't see much of an issue and it's a fun game. While using the machine gun when the character was talking, why I feel that I was getting some Metro vibes. I mean, if you have played the game, do let me know in the comment section that do you feel the same?
Aim, shoot, kill, reload. The cycle repeats to no end. I cared less and less that the shots were aimed at other living beings, who also had dreams, ambitions, just like me. I had to stop seeing them as people. Wouldn't have been able to do it otherwise.
After the enemies were over, Lieutenant Bratta asked us to regroup, but my gamer instinct got another idea and I wanted to try. So I found out that you can go in Lieutenant Bratta's body and look from his eyes. And I mean literally.
Why you bully me?
What the fuck was that?
After that, it felt like Sir Bratta gave me a punishment of going inside his head and we should run to the next spot. The game wasn't easy. I died, again I died, and again I died. But after a lot of hard work, me and the other privates were able to get a hold onto a bunker. The characters in the game has an incredible way of delivering their dialogue, especially when Soldier 2 said thanks.
Thanks.
Another strange thing I noticed is my weapon is always pointed on the head. So what's my height then? Am I like an 8-foot giant? Or am I always holding the weapon with my arms straight out? Another strange yet funny part in the game is where the game even made fool of me, as the other privates told me that they will take down the enemies by surprise, but then...
Wait, till they get closer, we'll take them by surprise.
Didn't they say that they would take them by surprise? And when the enemy came, they didn't even bother, as if there were no enemies over there. Probably like they have forgotten the program. I started the next mission as I was enjoying the game. And at the end, we were at a car with a machine gun in my hand. And suddenly, enemy motorcycles were behind us. Honestly, it was really fun to use that weapon. Our objective was to reach to the meeting point and probably it was through the enemy land. And sooner, there was a tank-like vehicle behind us. The objective was to blind the driver's viewfinder and initially I was a bit confused of what it means. But I saw a highlighted metal plate, so I started shooting using my machine gun and eventually the driver got confused and it got crashed. After that, we reached to an enemy camp where there were tons and tons of soldiers and at this moment, even lags and stutters were gone. Now there was no negative I could see during this mission and I'm still trying to figure it out the reason why this game is dead. So then I started looking into depth. and I saw the private was way too calm in his dialogue. I mean, you're in an enemy camp with tanks all over, and you're saying this very calmly.
Whoa, that was close. Way too close.
After a bit, we were attacked by some planes, which I easily took out, but its front hit the car, and logically or illogically, it didn't even do a scratch. Rather, the propeller went flying even further away. Logic in the game is truly touching my kidneys. I went to the Steam page in order to know if any recent update. Finds out the latest update was in 2021. Reading a couple of reviews, they were mixed. Nothing but pain. That's all I can describe this game. Bad optimization, awful controls, and enemy AI literally have aimbot. This game is a 6 out of 10. I love the concept and I did genuinely enjoy it. Amazing music, interesting weapon selection, level variation immersions, and I can get pretty silly or stupid, which it's really not a bad thing. However, there are problems that arose while playing, such as the controls are crap a lot of times, crashes but it only happens at Warsaw chapter for some bloody reason, stupid overpower AI, and it feels like kind of short. If you want to play this, then I recommend buying it in a cheaper price. In short, it's a fun game but it has problems. I would totally agree with review number 2 of this game. I played it for like around a good 1.5 hours, and even I would rate this game as a good solid 6.5 or 6 out of 10. A survivor game where you need to defend your captured bunker. The game started me following one character near a bunker, and the game was guiding me on how to move. Suddenly I got a big jump scare. It was very surprising as I took a step back. Building a bit of guts, I saw there was an enemy inside the bunker with a pretty strange way of shooting a gun. After I took him down, the way he was lying down on the ground and his face was sad. His hands were up as he was flying from the sky without any parachute. Looking at that, I further found that I'm a guy whose legs are missing. Next room there was an enemy sleeping, and my objective was to take him out silently with a knife. It wasn't easy to pick up things from the table, but somehow I managed to pick up the weapon. The enemy is sleeping so deeply that I first thought that is it even required to take him out? I mean, his chest was going up, down, up, down. I hit him once and his expression didn't change at all. It took me 4 hits to take him down and out, and honestly there was no change in his expression at all. Next room, when I saw this, honestly, I couldn't control my laughter while editing this clip. The bunker was great. It had a kitchen, living area, beds, radio stations, a lot more. Moreover, in the kitchen I had a stacks of food. I can live here for months. One strange thing I found that the weapon seemed to be way too big in the hand if you look at it very clearly, but actually it's small. So I needed to use a radio transmitter to receive or send signals in order to get missions that were using a pair of headphones. After that, the objective given to me was to go to sleep or explore the bunker. So far the game was great. It is a survival World War II theme game where you need to defend a bunker and do all sort of things. So I don't know why the game is dead. After exploring a bit in and out, I went for sleep in game. Next day I need to use the radio in order to pick tasks, and I really loved the way of how it was presented. There were encrypted passwords which was required to decrypt and send signals. So +1 for this to the dev. So the first task given to me was to light a fire in order to cook food. Initially it was pretty confusing, so I found an axe and went out to grab some woods. I was swinging the axe as Minecraft, but it didn't work. I knew that I'm not doing what it needs to be done. So I went in and I saw the woods were already there. So my job was to clean the remaining ash and put the wood in the stove and light up the fire. There was a cookbook near where it says all the ingredients, though what's more confusing was the labels written on the cans as they were all in other language. After a bit of confusion, I managed to put the ingredients and start cooking. And guess what? What's the most logical error I could do in cooking? I forgot to stir the food. And that means one thing, I burnt my food.
Fucking hell. Crazy. Don't like it? Up to par. It's unedible.
After a lot of hard work, I managed to cook something good, and I had it, and I prepared tea. I had both. I was filled, so I went for sleep. Next day, there were some enemies right outside the bunker, and I even got a big weapon. It wasn't easy as the game is designed in a way that if you lose a certain amount of health, it will automatically be game over because the character will be dead. I went to the Steam page in order to get some light on why so less players are playing this game. Reviews were really impressive. Almost 80% find the game as positive. Latest update was in April 2023 where it included a DLC too. Reading a review, I really liked it, but the big problem I have have is that the AI can't seem to realize that there is in fact food in pot as well as lack of healing supplies, as whenever I got a quest to heal, I didn't have any supplies that could increase my health. Also, I don't know if I was being oblivious, but the daily airdrops I called in didn't seem to be dropping, or I just couldn't find them. A solution to this could be that if there was a marker on it, I would have been able to find it better. But other than that, I like it quite a lot. After playing the game for a good 1 hour, the negative I found is the game is very repetitive. You need to do the job same thing again and again. But I would not take away anything from the dev. They did a great job, good game. Tenenberg, a game with a World War I theme, expanding the focus to encompass the Eastern Front. The game was released in 2019 and it did fairly well in the market, but recently the player counts has been decreasing. As the last 24 hours, just around 70 players were in the game. The game was mainly a battlefield which is split into different sectors, and objective was to capture the sectors which is linked to the headquarters. There were special weapons throughout some of the sectors which give a slight advantage to one team fighting against the enemy. Moreover, capture of sectors give more points to the respected team, and once the enemy resources are drained completely, the other team is declared as a winner or if the timer runs out. The first time I went into the game and waited for a server, I didn't get much of a players. Once the game started, I had a pair of binoculars and a small minigun. Initial thought, the game is really beautiful. The environment, lighting, shadows are well balanced, and there were no lags or stutters whatsoever, except a strange bug.
Help me! Help me! Nick!
So the game consists of enemies coming from other side of the map, and we need to capture as many sectors as possible and then go for the headquarters, for which we had a 40-minute timer. I started the match with some horrible aim. I was able to take out 1 or 2 enemies. Moreover, the game was well designed with a World War I theme, and I was exploring the beauty of the game. Then suddenly, Nikita Shamatko took me down. Good thing I spawned nearby, but the only thing I was thinking of why I don't have a rifle. One strange bug I saw is when the player leap over a fence, they were in slow motion. Never seen such a bug in any game in my life. I was exploring throughout the map to see if I could find a rifle or something of some kind. Then I saw a machine gun, which had a pretty difficult name to spell. Machine Gun. Once I interact, my player went into prone and hold a machine gun. Wasn't it said the word pick? Then Nikolai took me out this time. This time I was spawned in the field and I saw we were losing miserably. We had 871, whereas enemies were at 1997. While capturing a house, there was some kind of a gas attack, for which I need to take out a mask and wear it. I will give +1 for the animation. Honestly, I didn't understand what's going above a fence slow motion bug is. It was very difficult to fight a 32 enemy with just a small weapon, so I end up calling some support. But once I did call for support, Fyodor didn't let me survive more. Overall, the game is great. One of the best World War I theme games I've ever played. No idea why the player counts has been decreasing for the game. It can't be said that the game is completely dead, but it's about 90% dead considering the number of players in the game. At first, I thought the game had just one gun and it will level up in order to get more weapons, but once I started a new map, I found out that you can choose your inventory of weapons you prefer for the match. Long rifles feels great in the game. Moreover, the game has an offline feature too with bots, and +1 to the dev as the bots are not that easy to beat. To me, it's more about longevity, preservation, and lack of toxicity and interaction with other players what attracts me from bot mode in games. But I have found that in these World War series games, this mode is particularly well implemented. You can level up and switch classes, which I'll admit a little bit of confusion at first, but it didn't took me long to figure it out. Bots can even vote for different maps depending on what happens after a match. The real problem for me had to be with the lack of weapon variety. A lot of classes work really well, and they all have a different appeal to different playstyles. But progressive in these games is not really handled as an upgrade, but more like a welcome change of pace from what you have accustomed to. You're supposed to obtain different weapons and classes, but you really can't swap specifies between them, and they all seem to be a part of the same preset, or probably I'm not able to figure out how to do that. The game is a solid 8 out of 10 from all angles, except some minor bugs and lack of players. So I went to the Steam page just to get an idea of why this game is lacking in player counts, and reviews were incredibly 86% positive all time. So I thought of reading a couple of negative reviews just to know that what players didn't like about the game. As of March 2024, this appears to be a mostly dead game. Seems far, but with almost nothing but bots, I can't enjoy it. Game is fun, but it's dying. You can only have a game with a decent amount of players in the evening. Dear developers, maybe you should just make this game free to play. It'll definitely make this game alive again. Overall, the game is good, the environment is great. I got this game for free in Epic when they were giving it for free to play. Overall, with except minor bugs and lack of players, the game is perfect. If you wish to play a game with a World War I theme, this is it. An open world FPS game set in 1944, late days of World War II. So the game starts you dropping down in the world with one bot as a ally, whom also you can control on where he can move plus how he will hold his weapon. The environment was simple and decent. Snowstorm plus FPS shooter matches perfectly. The objective was to destroy the tank and then exfiltrate. Sounds pretty simple and straightforward. But at first I was curious about the weapon and the damage power, so I took out a dynamite and used it. It alerted many enemies, but me and my ally took care of them. The explosive animations were decent too, but you need to be constantly giving your ally directions in order for him to move, otherwise he would be left behind. The map of the game is way too simple, but too much zoomed in, so that's one negative. You can go through the map, but you can't zoom in or out, so it's hard to find the destination, or I should say it's time consuming. The game is relatively easy when it comes to taking down enemies. Probably the dev could consider making the game a little bit difficult, or maybe there is an option which I couldn't find. So me and my ally were going through a snowfall in order to find a tank that was required to destroy. We found a camp where there were a couple of enemies, as one of them were hiding inside a building. I tried to throw a grenade, but I missed miserably. One more thing, I didn't know where it is good or bad, but the ally bullets, if got hit to you, you also get damage. Which is logically correct, but I didn't expect this from a game like this. Passing through the base, my ally got knocked out, and it was too hard for me to handle too many enemies up front, so after a couple of minutes, they took me down too. So I restarted. But this time the objective changed. Now we had to destroy 3 tanks and obtain some kind of keys too. once I landed up, headed to the POW camp, yes that's the name, there were a couple of enemies outside. At first I just had a pistol, so I wanted a gun. But it was not that difficult with the pistol too, as the enemies' aim were 2 out of 10. I saw a car in the camp, and honestly no way I thought it's possible, but you can actually drive a car. Though probably it's one of the most fastest cars I've ever driven. You can command your ally to sit with you in the car, and it seems in sometimes the car will flip over. It was difficult to control it with that speed and slippery road, but I didn't mind at all as we were reaching our destination faster. And it seems like the enemy forget their programming, as it doesn't shoot while you're in the car. I don't know whether it's a bug or it was designed in a way that enemy can neither spot you nor shoot you when you're in the car. And moreover, when you open the map, the car still keeps going forward. It doesn't stop. I thought of hitting one of the enemies with the car and it actually gave them damage. So we end up in Novel camp where there were a bunch of enemies and a tank. And I thought that that's our first objective, to destroy it. But suddenly when I went in the car, I didn't know that I would break the game.
What the fuck? What the fuck was that?
After encountering one of the most funniest glitches, I went forward with my ally as he was back in the car. At the spot I was trying to find out the key, but I wasn't able to get it. Didn't have much of a clue as where the hiding spot is. I checked a couple of buildings but still no luck. So I attempted my first objective to destroy the last tank. And then I thought of finding the keys. And suddenly I found it as it was inside a building. I wasn't able to figure out where the entrance is. The plus 5 points I would give to driving in this game. I mean, it's really fast and it actually felt like you're driving a car. The only thing that worried me a lot was there was a lot of snow on the side of the roads, as I was scared of sliding off or turning upside down. Next mission started off with a war. Me and my ally versus an entire army of enemies in a camp. The objective was to liberate the place, which had 25 enemies altogether. Playing these missions in this kind of environment makes me feel that the idea, design and implementation of the game is brilliant. It's almost perfect. I love to play the game and trying to accomplishing the missions. Even in an intense fight like this, I didn't see or feel any obvious lags or stutters. Talking about issues in the game, the first negative I feel is sometimes enemies completely forget they are in a battle and start ignoring you, and suddenly they get their program running and they are back on track. Secondly, the car bug, where enemies just ignore you when you're in a car, or they can't spot you nor shoot you. Thirdly, they should have made the enemy a little bit stronger, maybe a slight. And also when the mission starts, probably the devs could have considered giving a better gun in the loadout. But overall, great FPS games which has everything from drivable cars to controlling allies. But the big question is, what can be the reason of this game to be dead? So I went to the Steam page and finds out the game recently got an update on Feb 26 some days ago. So the devs are still pretty much active in this game. And now my question is to know why 0 players. So I went to look at some reviews. This game could have been great, but it runs poorly on many systems. The AI buddies are nice additions, but it still lacks tracks progress and some sounds atmosphere. I like the idea behind it, but it should not bite again, sadly. One of the guys reviewed it as it had potential. Game is not optimized whatsoever. This wouldn't be a problem if there wasn't 0 actual system requirements listed. For a game that doesn't look too demanding, even on a low, the game decides to lag and crash often. Not sure how they got away with putting literally no requirements for the game, but I guess it should have been assigned. I played the game for like a couple of hours. Honestly, I didn't encounter any crashes or any lags or spikes, probably because that my system is good, or maybe it might happen that it is now well optimized and these reviews are a little bit older. Overall, I have to give a grade to this game. I would give a solid 7 out of 10. Just a couple of bugs are there. If they can try to fix it off, it would be a great game. If any one of you wish to play any of these games, link will be in the description, and you can recommend me any dead games if you want me to explore in the comment section. This would be it for the video. Take care. Peace.